All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Rocky Top Insider postgame show. This is Ryan Schumpert. I'm Rick Butler. We are standing out here on the field of Razorback Stadium. Obviously, chaos is all around us. There are pom-poms. There's a field goal behind us. There's actually a field goal being carried off over there. Heck, we have a microphone that broke just a couple minutes ago during Nico Iamaleava's press conference. So we sit here coming to you. It's almost midnight. But Tennessee loses their first game of the season, upset to Arkansas, 19-14. Ryan, there's so many directions that we can go, but I really just kind of want to start with your overall takeaway of the game. You can take it any kind of direction you want, offense, defense. Just what are you thinking about here 30, 45 minutes after game time?
Yeah, I think specifically with the game, it's Arkansas' better team. There was no fluke in the game. If anything, Tennessee winning would have been, if not a fluke, they would have won not as the better team. This wasn't a game where, Tennessee certainly did bad things. They certainly made mistakes that made life more difficult on themselves. But as a whole, Arkansas was really the better team. So I think you have that, and you have some takeaways to come with that. That some of these issues for Tennessee on offense, I'm just not sure how fixable they are this season. And then obviously, I think there's some long-term, takeaways that you have brewing, or you think about and maybe not have coherently enough to say for sure 45 minutes after the game. But just another really, really bad loss for Josh Heupel on the road.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people talking about some of the worst halves in Tennessee history. Yeah. Not history, but
Josh
just under
Heupel.
Josh Heupel.
Yeah.
And I think there are a couple ones that you could pick from. I'm not about to debate which one is worse, but I think that this one was kind of in that pantheon. Let's go back to the start of the game. Tennessee's first half it never got going. It was so sluggish. They were playing behind the chains. I thought penalties really set Tennessee up in a bad position all game, but Tennessee's offense just never got going. It was, credit to Tennessee's defense for it only being a 3-point game at halftime without a single touchdown scored, but Tennessee's offense just it didn't look in shape. It didn't look well synced up. Well, what did you kind of take away from that first half of the game?
Oh, well, I mean, what you said, Tennessee should have been down by a lot more. The fact that it was only 3-0. Arkansas, they missed a field goal. They turned the ball over on downs twice in scoring range. And then they, kicked a field goal from the 1 yard line on the first drive of the game. And then, it was shortened for sure because a lot of those drives were long. Tennessee at times struggled to get off the field on third downs. I think there was maybe a fourth down conversion or two mixed in there as well. But Tennessee has 4 drives. 2 of them were quick 3-and-outs. They go backwards. The other 2 they get right on the fringe of field goal range. And I think it was the face mask on the 2-minute drive, offensive face mask, and then a sack on their second drive of the game that kept them from scoring. And really in the first half, it felt like Arkansas completely bullied Arkansas's defensive line bullied Tennessee's offensive line. They couldn't pass protect very well, nor could they run the ball very well. I did think that changed in the second half. I didn't think that was perfect by any means, but not a major issue in the second half. But that's kind of the my takeaways on the first half.
Yeah, I thought there were a lot of times, I mentioned it a second ago, but kind of to your point again, just areas where Tennessee got behind the sticks, they got behind the chains, they set themselves up in bad positions, and we know that the passing game, it just wasn't in sync. Really, the entire game for Tennessee. But when Tennessee is moving themselves backwards on the field, that's obviously going to be harder to get things going. And there were some times where Arkansas brought pressure, to your point, and really just got to Nico Iamaleava in a snap, in a flash of an instant. That kept Tennessee on their heels.
Yeah, for sure. And I think just a few spurts of plays that really stand out to me, smaller plays in the game, I think had a big impact. One, Tennessee has Arkansas 3rd and 15 at its own 1 yard line early in the second quarter, I think.
Yes.
They bust. Arian Carter drops into coverage. He doesn't go with the running back. He plays the middle. First down. Arkansas doesn't score on that drive, but you get the stop on, they're punting it out of their own end zone. You have good field position. That's a big chance. Another one being in the second half, Squirrel White, I think maybe before Tennessee's second to last drive, Squirrel White lets that punt drop, doesn't run up and catch it, rolls 25 yards. Huge difference in field position. Jordan Ross, obviously, with the running into the punter call, that was a big one. And there's one other one I had in mind. I'll probably think, just on the last drive, I thought Tennessee's clock management was really bad. I hit the big pass to Dante Thornton. I think it was 15 seconds ran off the clock after that play. Got to take a timeout. Got to get up there and spike it. Got to be ready to run a play. If not, I thought that was both on Heupel, and I thought Nico was a little too lackadaisical as well. So those were just a couple instances, and maybe you don't think of huge moments in the game, but I thought Tennessee were big plays where Tennessee made either really bad mistakes. Really all of them were just bad Tennessee kind of, unforced errors.
Yeah, and to your point on that last play, Josh Heupel and Nico Iamaleava got to talk about it a little bit. You can find both of those press conferences right here on the Rocky Top Insider YouTube channel. But Josh Heupel basically said that he was actually asked, Joe Milton also had a similar situation
Yeah,
like that a couple years ago. How similar, how different
that
are
was.
these two
I
things?
bet a lot of people are in the same boat. That was my very first thought when that happened.
I'm
Was
sure it
holy
was.
cow, it's a Joe Milton.
Absolutely, and Josh Heupel said after the game, he said it's completely different. You had an older quarterback then, you had a younger quarterback kind of in one of these first situations here. Nico Iamaleava said after the game, originally he was looking for Dante Thornton to get open. He was covered, and then a pass was going to get batted down right away. He waited for Chris Brazell to get a little bit open. That didn't necessarily happen, and then as he was moving towards his right, I guess, he says the ball slipped out of his hands. I did not have a good angle for that.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it did or how much it didn't, but that's kind of the series of events that led to that last play. You mentioned the line. I know that was something that you and I were definitely talking about during the game. What else kind of maybe stood out for you in this game?
Well, I think, for one, just going. I mean, Tennessee scores. Second half couldn't start better. Touchdown drive,
Right.
3-and-out touchdown drive, and you feel like, all right, they're gonna.
Dalen Sampson has the 53-yard run. He punches it in with
Yeah.
a 4-yard score. Things looked like they were maybe momentum was building a little
Yeah,
bit.
well, I mean, 14-3. You feel very, very comfortable lead at that point. I thought that was a big way Arkansas answered on that next drive. But even you go back and look at it, Tennessee just got 2 touchdown drives all night. Second one, there was a late hit and a roughing the passer on that drive. So Tennessee very much aided by Arkansas penalties on their second touchdown drive at night. Not something they did, it wasn't like it was some great drive. So I think that's one thing that stands out. The defense as a whole, I thought we saw, they weren't terrible, but the pass defense, we faced its first real test, and you saw that unit's not fantastic. Now I think Taylor Green made a couple really nice, like Jermon McCoy got beat deep twice. I thought he had pretty good coverage on both those. Those were just very good throws. And the pass rush bringing 4 was not overly effective. Run defense was still really good. Those are kind of some defensive things that stand out.
And he was shifty. He was a shifty quarterback. He was mobile. He made a couple good cuts to kind of get away from some of the Tennessee lanes, and he was able to extend plays. And again, I thought that was a big thing. Penalties are still something I go back to. I just felt like Tennessee shot themselves in the foot. Even Arkansas at times in the second half. I thought penalties made a big impact on both these games. Obviously, it was a rowdy environment right here, but those are areas that even though you have a young quarterback, Tennessee's got to do as much as they can to, take things off his shoulder, not move the sticks back. But penalties, certainly, I believe it was maybe 5 on the offensive line. I don't know that it for sure, but that was one of my takeaways.
Yeah, and one I think for good reason, be a lot of criticism for Josh Heupel in this game. I thought he called a bad game. The team was not ready to play. One sequence in particular that stood out to me, I can't remember which drive, but one of the drives late in the fourth quarter where you're trying to get points to get the lead back to 4 or ice the game with, or I mean not ice it, but get it to 8 with the touchdown. Tennessee had one false start thing. Lance started right around midfield. They run for 8 on first down. They can't pass the ball at all. Incomplete on second down. Then they run the ball again on 3rd and 7. That sequence just as a whole made no sense in a spot where you're going to punt the ball. Your offense isn't playing well enough that you're going to throw it or you're going to go for it on 4th down in that spot. So, that's one that stands out. And I guess one thing I'll say, just kind of wrapping up, I said at the beginning about Tennessee's offensive issues. I'm not sure how fixable they are. To me, what I see right now, below average offensive line, very, very, very average receiver play, which was my fear for the offense the entire offseason. I talked about it after the Oklahoma game. I thought, I was really starting to be worried about it. Look, just being here in the game, not a lot of guys running open. Nico missed one deep throw to Squirrel. They couldn't connect on that throw over the middle. When play he got hurt. I think he was in a sling after the game. Josh Heupel didn't have any sort of update, but not very good offensive line play. Very, very average receivers. I don't think Nico's playing bad right now, or he's a bad player by any means, but I don't think he's at the point where he can lift up a lot of guys in the offense around him. I think he's, at least tonight was very, very average, if not below average, and is not at the spot where he's going to be able to throw a lot of guys open and erase a lot of those issues behind him.
I think one of the fascinating things about this game as well is that it was after a bye week for Tennessee. Josh Heupel before this game was 8-1 as a head coach after a bye game or a bye week, 3-0 at Tennessee. But it just nothing really mounted for Tennessee, especially coming with that 2 weeks of preparation. Sam Pittman even talked about it. He did expect a little bit of the unexpected from Tennessee's offense, but things just weren't going to bring those things out. That all being said, though, was a wild day in college football. A lot of top teams,
Yeah.
a lot of top teams lost, but at the same time, Tennessee doesn't really have another bye. They do have a bye week a little bit later on, but they have a pretty good gauntlet in front of them right now. So Tennessee's really going to have to kind of take this on the chin. Gideon Peely talked about in the postgame press conference, take this, understand it, let it hurt, but they got to flush it so they don't let Arkansas beat them twice down the road. Florida and Alabama coming up in back-to-back weeks.
For sure, and I haven't seen the final score. It looks like Florida had a comfortable lead over UCF last I saw, which was hours ago now. I might look stupid. They might have blown that game and lost it. But all I have to say, it seems like they're playing a little bit better. And, yeah, the room for error, not really a whole lot of it anymore for Tennessee to make the playoff. I'd be curious to see how some of those percentages or all that stuff flip, because it feels like right now, with some of those issues I talked about offense, Tennessee's on the outside looking in.
Pro Football Focus grades and the FPI percentages. They're not guarantees. They're not, don't take them as gospel. The FBI. But they are interesting to look at just to see how people move. So, and we got a lot more coming to you tonight. We're going to head back up to the press box right now, and we will do the Rocky Top Insider podcast. Ryan and I will, as we continue to break down this game a little bit more. And then we're heading back to Knoxville tomorrow as we continue breaking down this game, as we continue. There's so much that happens, so much to talk about it. So make sure you're staying tuned to RockyTopInsider.com each and every day for your Tennessee news, notes, and coverage. It's Ryan Schumpert. I'm Rick Butler. You're listening to the Rocky Top Insider Press Pass. Tennessee falls for the first time this season to Arkansas, 19-14, right here in Fayetteville.